After watching the White Lotus finale, two things are for certain. Mike White hates a victim, and he's incredibly cynical. I just wanted to quickly point out this speech from last season's finale. You just have to do whatever it takes to not feel like a victim of life. I think a lot of the season was about destroying karmic loops. After the first episode, we talked about how a lot of wealthy Westerners will treat the East and Thailand especially as this place where they can heal themselves. But part of healing yourself is doing the work, right? I'm directly contrasting Rick and Chelsea's storyline with the storyline of the three gossiping divas, as somebody on here calls them. I will directly link the person down below, Mel Hamlet. She was talking very beautifully. It was like a 10-minute long video about how a lot of people will define themselves through service, right? And unfortunately, this is a gendered thing. She said it, not me. Don't be mad at me. Because this country conditions women to be a little bit more subservient and to be in this helper role, it sometimes fosters this codependency. I come from a family with addiction, so I spotted this, and I made a video 8 weeks ago saying that this relationship was super toxic and super dark, and you guys were like, no, they're in love. This is what love looks like. And I'm like, no, this is what a certain type of toxic straight person love looks like, where the woman is overextending herself over and over and over again in service of healing a very bad man. And because we live in the West and we have all indoctrinated under patriarchy, we can't realize that this is super fucked up and toxic, right? He didn't say I love you. He never he didn't even confirm that he wanted to marry her. He was like, yeah, sure, love you. All of their interactions were always one-sided, her pining for him, her yearning for him, her keening for him, and him being like, sure, I guess you're around. Rick is 50 years old and completely consumed with the life he could have had if his father had stayed around, right? He is someone who is completely defined by his childhood trauma. When he talks to Amrita in the second episode, he says, I'm nothing because I've never been given the chance to be anything. I had this shitty life because I wasn't able to have both of my parents around and receive the love that I deserve, right? Chelsea in the last episode says, don't worry about the love that you could have had, worry about the love that you have right now. And he is completely unable to break that cycle. At the end of last week's episode, we thought that he was going to be able to, and he couldn't, right? He sat there with a smile on his face, but then as soon as he was triggered again, he could not ever break out of that karmic cycle and had to complete this very Shakespearean tragedy of unaliving his father because he never could get over that initial wound. Daphne last season cheated on her husband because he cheated on her, and she refused to be a victim of her circumstances, right? Rick was someone who was completely defined by his victimhood, and he was, again, 50 years old and never did the work to move past any of his issues, right? Lori is able to break this psychic chain because she accepts her friends for what they are, and she stops wishing that this relationship could be different, right? When you take someone for what they are, this is an old therapy trick, you stop wishing that they were different. And it's something that they teach you in Buddhism, right? That desire is the root of all suffering. If you just accept things and take them at face value, you're not spending all of your time wishing and hoping and dreaming that people could change for you. I also want credit for saying last week, you guys ate me up. You can go see the comments of that video. People were destroying me when I said Lori didn't seem that happy. And I was right? She literally says, I was sad the entire trip. My life didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. People thought that I was projecting. And it's this isn't a story of good and evil. This isn't Power Rangers. This isn't Rugrats morality where we're all 6 years old and we need somebody to tell us what's good and what's bad, right? All three of the characters are toxic. All three of the characters are three sides of the same coin. And they tell us that over and over again in the season. Lori wasn't standing up to her toxic bullies who were destroying her and trying to keep her down. They are friends who have known each other for 40 years and are able to take an L and say, okay, I fucked up, right? And if they didn't say that, then they say, I love you, and they keep it moving because they know that they can't change that person. And I think a lot of the fact that morality on this app is so influenced by 22-year-olds who haven't known people this long, and it's very easy for you guys to be like, well, if someone ever upsets me, I'm just gonna stop being friends with them. It is very hard to do that when you have been through many, many, many experiences together, when you've been to weddings and children's births and graduations and all of this stuff. That when it comes to Mike White being cynical, the money changes everything, money corrupts absolutely storyline is interesting on a narrative level, but not on a character level, where Belinda and Pornchai came into this as equals. They were at the exact same footing. I think it is very racialized and genderized. You can't say that she's exactly like Tanya when Tanya was, again, a wealthy Western white woman who came into places and wreaked havoc using her money, promising people things and then taking it away, promising to change people's lives and then taking it away, right? Some demented genie. Whereas Tanya is a Black woman who doesn't have money. She can't operate under the same framework that Tanya does, right? She also doesn't know Pornchai. They don't have a relationship. They slept together once and they've known each other for 3 days. Or 5 days at max, right? It wasn't they were lovers and then she dipped, right? The two things are not comparable and I don't want to hear it. The interesting story beat, again, is that the money made her turn, but you can't compare her to Tanya, right? I think this is just Mike White's cynicism showing through, where he believes that when you are rich, you behave badly, which is, again, the thesis of the show recreating itself, its own karmic cycle, if you will. To complete the idea of karmic cycles, Tim broke his because he realized the power of family and Victoria didn't, right? Because she stayed the same for the entire show. Piper realized that she wasn't about anything and was like, okay, I am just as bad as my mother. Whereas Saxon broke out of his and he was able to like see a new side of himself and hopefully move forward and be transformed in that way. Lachlan, once again, stays sort of in the middle because he doesn't really know who he is and we don't get resolution to that storyline.